So I just finished Code Geass, the Luch of the Rebellion. Um, I finished everything. Season 1 and both Season 2. I think I was about to say something along the lines of, how unfair it is. So nunnaly is actually alive. Many of them are actually alive. But it's kind of ironic that halfway through this show, or a little bit more halfway through this show, I ended up switching sides. I actually ended up supporting Suzaku. I actually was a little bit more respectful towards Nina, and I couldn't believe I was actually siding with Britannia this whole time. Uh, then Lelouch ends up controlling Schneisel, who I suppose is now free from the chain of Geass because Lelouch is dead. That means he gets to live, right? The same guy who wanted to, just casually kill a billion, 2 billion people for the sake of world peace. It's really impressive how you got to that conclusion. Even Zeke's euthanasia plan was a little bit more understandable. Yours is just stupid. This is normally the part where I would, sit down and tell you how unfair it is. I don't know how many main characters I've now seen where they're the ones who, end up sacrificing their life so that the world, it's always the world, it's always for the happiness of the world. It's always for the happiness of the world. I think we've seen this, right? I think Eren did this, right? Of course he did. What do you mean? What do you mean? I think, of course he did. He did. Eren did. Um, I was happy when I read a manga. I think a lot of people might have known this, but if not, I recommend you to read. Um, Trying to remember the name. I think it was The Climber. Let me just double check real quick. I think it is right. It's a manga called The Climber. Okay, yeah, I was correct. I recommend you to read that, right? Because I'll just say I love the story and I love the way it ended, right? It didn't result in someone who I deeply cared for, right, dying. Because now that's another added main character that I've grown attached to. I want to tell you the main reason why I watch Code Geass was for Lelouch, right? For Lelouch, and I understand why he did this. I understand his plan, right? Because it was for the sake of the betterment of the world. Right? He took all that hate, he embodied that hate. Therefore, the world only looked at him, only wished for his death, right? And so everyone else gets to live that life. They get to have a future. Nunnaly gets to move on. Wait, where the I am pretty embarrassing. Like, look at this guy, man, crying in front of the camera. I don't know when I said those lines. when I said those lines, um, it just sounded very familiar. It sounded very, very familiar. I just got reminded of another story, so I should be happy, right? This is what Lelouch would have wanted, and this was probably the most perfect way to go out. You know, probably the only thing he would have, I don't know, maybe done was maybe talk with Suzaku, through the paths. He could have done that. He could have done that. Talked to the paths. Probably told him he wanted to be with, I don't know, Kalen, maybe CC for, or maybe even Shirley, right, for 10 years. I'm just tired. I'm really tired. um, Tired with going through all these kinds of stories again and again and again. You know, um, but I guess I'd always be selfish if I wanted the main character to live, right? I guess that always in these stories, the main characters are destined to die. I guess that's just their fate. Um, yeah, no, I'm supposed to look at the world, right? And it's for the betterment of everyone, right? I think I've already accepted that with another character. The reason why he's the profile picture, you know, I thought I moved on from that. Um, but I don't know. Uh, Everything just sounded very, 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 very similar. Everything just felt very, very familiar. Sort of like deja vu. It was like I was experiencing the very same feelings I had um, when I first watched that show. I can't say it was in the same level. I think that one was far more. Well, it felt destructive, right? That story felt far more destructive, and to me, I think nothing could come close to that. But I know a lot of people prefer Code Geass, and I can understand why it's so much more consistent, especially with how the way it ended, right? Um, I could go over everything with all the characters. Surprise, surprise! I ended up rooting for Suzaku, and I started hating the Black Knights. I started hating Kalen. They were all following Schneisel, right? And I hated him too. I absolutely hated Schneisel. I hated Diethard. Uh, you probably don't know this, but Diethard and Rakshata are actually two of one of my most favorite characters in the show until everything started falling apart. I hated Diethard now because he doesn't really have loyalty, right? I think it was fun having him around, but the moment he switched, I was like, okay, yeah, no, fuck you. Rakshata, of course, um, it was more so she was just, yeah, fuck, like I'm gonna just go for helping out the Black Knights and the rest of the world. Um, Nunnaly. What am I supposed to say with Nunnaly, right? I mean, am I gonna blame her because she killed thousands of people? Well, I'll say thousands of people. I don't think they fielded millions of soldiers in that battle during that battle. But should I say, should I? Am I angry for Nunnaly? I'm not angry at Nunnaly. Do I blame Nunnaly? No, I don't blame Nunnaly. She's just not meant for this, for this kind of uh, of world. But because of Lelouch, he was able to change the world, and at least now things are a lot more better. And so Nunnaly can live that that future that Lelouch wanted her to have, and he made that world. He accomplished it. Um, Cece gets to live as well. Suzaku gets to live as well. Nina gets to live as well. Schneizel gets to live as well. Um, Sounds so familiar. It really sounds so familiar. It literally is Attack on Titan. But I know people will say, Code Geass was the first one. I've already heard a lot of people, especially in the Attack on Titan community, some of them, I'm not gonna say all of them, but in the Attack on Titan, some of the people in the Attack on Titan community praise Code Geass more and prefer Lelouch more than Eren, and I can see why. I've watched both shows. Um, I don't give a fuck about stories. I only care about Eren, and I only care about Lelouch. Okay, those are the only two things. The only reason why I watch and I read these stories and why I hold them closely is because of who these people are, right? Who Lelouch is and who Eren is, right? They're the reasons why I love their stories. Without them, I don't care about any of the other characters. I don't care about Mikasa. I don't care about Armin. I don't care about Suzaku. I don't care about Nunnaly. I don't care about Kallen. I don't care about Jean. I don't care about Connie. No, like the reason why, because I know people might not be, might not be able to understand, but I'll always go back to when it all first began. This all began because Lelouch saw his mother get killed, only for it to be revealed that she was a lying son of a bitch, along with um, his dad, Charles. So both Marianne and Charles conspired to make this world that they saw fit, that they saw, oh yeah, this is the world where, your younger sister, Nunnaly, the one we pushed away, the one we've never seen, smiled, even while being, incapable of seeing and incapable of walking. Yeah, we're saying that we're gonna make a world for her, the one we pushed away to Japan. Um, and so Lelouch ended up fighting against Britannia, against his father because of his murder, because of VV. Because of VV. Killed Marianne. So, and Eren, his mother died as well. Right, but this time, the reason as to why she died was, he doesn't know the reason, but he did it. He doesn't know the reason, but he did it. Uh, but I always look at that journey, right? I always look at that journey, what they've been through. Um, they'll never taste life ever again. Never. They're gone. Dead. So, I weep for that. I cry for that. Right? It's a noble thing to do for the sake of the whole world. Right? It's a very noble thing to do for the happiness of the world, for everyone's safety, for everyone's lives, right? Very, very noble, very unselfish thing to do, to sacrifice your own life for everyone else's happiness, right? I'll give you that, Eren. And I'll give you that, Lelouch. I'll give it to them. Unfortunately, I'm one selfish fucker. I'm 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 a I'm a pretty selfish prick. I'm ultra selfish motherfucker. Cause I wish Eren lived. I wish Lelouch lived, right? Because I think the one that really weighs on me is the fact that all they known is war and death. That's all they know, right? Although in Code Geass, it was sort of difficult to really grasp the emotion because after Shirley died, it was like everyone's back to normal, right? Um, and after Yuffie died as well, it's like everyone like moved on. Like the next episode or the second episode, Nina couldn't, right? But we definitely see her right around the end change. Um, her conversation with Lelouch, I liked it. I liked it because she was at least calm there. She wasn't filled with she wasn't filled with all that whatever she did. It just looked very cringy. At least there, I can respect her there. The way she said it, she said that she couldn't forgive Zero, right? So, um, I don't know. This might sound weird. I don't think anyone's gonna be watching by the end of this video, so I think I'll just tell you this. Um, Maybe the last few who do end up watching this might misunderstand what I mean, but the authors wrote these these people, these two guys. The author of Code Geass wrote Lelouch, um, and Hajime Sayama wrote Eren, right, for the same purpose. Both of these authors, and how many more authors, continue to write the same character, and kill them. Of course, they all have good reasons. Actually, not a good reason for talking about if you're human, right? What we'll say they deserved it. Light deserved it. Eren deserved it. Lelouch deserved it, right? At least that is one way for them to atone their sins. This might sound very, very selfish, but I've already told you that I am selfish, right? I don't want them to die. When when Attack on Titan ended, and when Eren died, the most purest reaction I've ever had to was I wept. I didn't cry for anyone in the story. I didn't have that much attachment to anyone in the story. I like all the characters. I love some of the characters. But the only one that I really cared for in the whole story was whoever the main character was. Eren, Lelouch, I did. Right, I did. Um, Light was a little bit more harder to justify. Right? Even Lelouch was harder to justify. Um, Eren was a little bit more slightly, I say slightly more easier to justify why he did things slightly. Um, what I wanted to say is pretty much Eren Lelouch carried these burdens on themselves alone. When Attack on Titan ended, after I finished reading the manga, because I didn't wait for the anime, I actually waited for the final chapter to drop. And when I saw his death, I think I couldn't hold myself, and that was the hardest I've ever cried for something. The absolute hardest. And during that time, I was only thinking of the weight that Eren had to carry, and he had to carry that all alone. All that sadness, all that pain, all that death, all that suffering, he carried it all alone. He had to carry all the sins so that everyone else in the world will just overlook it. And at that very moment when I finished it, it was 2021. I remember it was around April. I don't remember the exact date, but it was around April 2021. I ended up reading that chapter. Um, and at that moment, I didn't care about anything else. I only cared about Eren. I literally only care about Eren, and the same thing happened again here. It's the same thing. I don't want to compare Eren or Lelouch because I love these characters, both of them. I genuinely do love both of them, and I hate. I know the authors write these main characters really well, or at least in my opinion, characters that I end up, you know, getting super ultra attached to, and um, seeing as how their lives ended, knowing that they won't be able to live a good full life, that one really, really, really hurts me. Because I've seen this shit. One story, though, that was able to satisfy that, um, it's not as good in writing, I guess, compared to, if I were to say, compare it to Attack on Titan and Code Geass, but I still love it. I still genuinely love it. Is Fire Punch. I love how Fire Punch ended. Um, and that one made me happy. I will still remember it. The fact it's funny, right? Because I always tell myself, you're gonna forget the stories that always felt good to you. You're gonna forget the stories that always left like a happy note, right? Because Attack on Titan left a painful feeling. Even Code Geass, right? So they always left a mark on me. It's like the same thing with grudges. People don't easily forget grudges. People don't easily forget the people who wronged them. They don't. So I thought it was going to be the same with this. It satisfied me. It satisfied how it satisfied how I wish things would have gone with other stories, with other manga. So I told myself, I'm just gonna forget Fire Punch. Here I am. I still fucking remember Agni. And his fucking face when he. I'm happy with how that ended. I really am happy with how that ended. Him and Luna, right? Him and Luna. Um, Unfortunately, the same thing couldn't be said with Eren and Lelouch, but I'm just happy both of these characters existed. Right? Even if they're a figment of someone's imagination or a symbol, there's a reason why I love these stories. There's a reason why. Because they bleed into reality. They bleed into real life. But I think I call it off there. That was Code Geass. This isn't my usual. This isn't usually how I make videos. I typically write a script and then I edit it, and you know it's polished pretty much. But this time I just let my emotions roam free because that was how Code Geass was. It's been a while since I've done this. It's been a while since I've said this as well. But I think Code Geass season 2 gets an 8.7 to 8.8. An 8.7 and an 8.8. If you're wondering, what rating did I give Attack on Titan? Specifically the manga, because that's the one that I really, really pushed for. I gave Attack on Titan, I think it's my highest one if I'm not mistaken. It's my highest rated manga. Yes, that is my highest rated manga. I gave it a 9.5. I gave Shingeki no Kyojin a 9.5, and I gave Koko no Hito, which is The Climber, a 9.2, and deservedly so. It's just Attack on Titan was just it was a different story. But there you go. Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion, R2 gets an 8.8 for Lelouch. That 8.8 is for Lelouch. Okay, well, that's it. It was a really, really, I don't want to say it was a fun journey, right? But it was definitely it felt like a very lively, I felt alive watching it. And I enjoyed the ride. Lelouch has brought me in. So, yeah, that's it. I'm Aaron. Have a blessed day, afternoon, evening, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Sayonara.